One of the questions I get asked the most right now, or you may be thinking to yourself, when do you actually commit to a realtor? And I'm going to be going over all of that with you. We're only going to be talking about the buyer agency side. Listing side, you got to reach out. I got to help you. It's very simple on that. But on the buyer agency side, you may be a first-time buyer. You may be a new buyer. You may have heard some things related to the news. And I want to give you a breakdown because as of August of last year, there's been some changes. Now, since last time, as the time of this recording, we've probably done over 50 transactions. So we got to see firsthand for both buyers and sellers, what is the norm, what are people doing, and how should you prepare for yourself as to when you should commit and how you should decide on a realtor. My name is Spencer Sue. I run a Bay Area real estate team, and we helped over 300 families in the last 7 years successfully with their move. So I'm speaking from someone with deep experience, but also with a proven track record where we do more than most realtors will do, fortunately, in their entire lifetime. And we do it because we create educational videos like this, right? Right now we have over 6,000 subscribers organically from our YouTube channel. And people are tuning in. We're having thousands of views because people are trusting us. Now, you may be watching this and you may be watching it for the first time, but most of you are probably watching it for several times. And you maybe never have decided to want to reach out. But hopefully, this will allow you to reach out. So my contact details are below. 408-547-4590. Send me a text message. I'm happy to go over a game plan. But let's talk about the scenarios. And then I'm also going to show you what does a buyer agreement look like and what kind of restrictions should you be mindful of, right? This is not a marriage. And the reason why it's not a marriage is because if you have to break up with me or a buyer agent, there shouldn't be any real penalties for it. But this is there for several different reasons. One, it's a requirement now to do any proper showings and to talk specifically about homes. Two, it allows you to understand how compensation works in advance. Now, fortunately in the Bay Area, at least how we have it structured, we are having it where the seller is still absorbing the entire cost of whatever compensation that we agree upon. We'll always talk separately about that. I'm not going to put that out there, but typically sellers are the ones absorbing it. And that means as long as you're not at a disadvantage of a above percent number, you will be fine. Now, how do you verify and ensure that? Look at somebody's track record. Just Google me. Google the agent that you may be talking to right now, that you may be flirting to talk to. Just check them out. See how many transactions they've done. Because think about it. If I was at a competitive disadvantage for whatever compensation I'm asking for, I wouldn't be that naive to be like, I'm just going to keep asking for this and keep, quote unquote, screwing my clients. I'm going to be as competitive as it needs to be, yet still not be like a discount realtors because there's a reason discount realtors are doing what they're doing. And so for that reason, I know and I can track, like, are we being competitive? Unfortunately, we continue to be that way. Otherwise, we wouldn't have the amount of transactions that we have had. We wouldn't have the amount of 5-star reviews we've had, right? You wouldn't see all these recent 5-star reviews. These are all people that are buying and selling with us every single week right now. And so that gives you an idea, like, what are the successful people doing and what can I learn from them? And this goes to the story of you should think about the partner of a realtor actually before you even look at homes. Now, I know everybody wants to just jump right into it, right? I get it. And that's your choice. You can do whatever you want. You can spend hours trying to figure out yourself, or you can get the shortcut and just get the answers. Now, it's going to be a collaboration of the two, right? I don't want you to just believe everything I say. I can then give you a game plan, and then you just shorten your search and focus on the right area, and we're still collaborating to understand it versus just having it so broad and trying to figure it yourself, right? I know that's exciting for people, but at the same time, look, I'm not getting paid by time, right? I'm getting paid for your success. So the faster you can be successful, the faster you can move on with your next goals, the faster you can get out of buyer fatigue, the faster you can get off with just getting the frustrations, and the faster you have to success, right? So my objective and the whole purpose of then finding the right agent and partnering with them really early on is the objective of the realtor is not helping you necessarily just find homes that are readily available on Redfin and Zillow. That was long gone. The key of a good realtor like myself is, one, helping you understand first and foremost where you should be looking at because of your budget. You do that with our data-driven approach. Two, the agent will help you understand what each home should likely go for and why before you even step foot into it. Three, the agent should help you on the disclosure and competition review along with the pricing analysis. And then four, especially in this market, it's all about negotiations, right? Depending on different price points and depending on the competition, there's negotiation strategies. It may be a negotiation with the seller. It may be a negotiation against other people. It may be a negotiation of just understanding like the dynamics and making our best foot forward, right? There's a game plan that is there that is always unique for every individual home. Because why is it unique? We have zero control over how a listing agent wants to list a house. If every single home in the neighborhood is selling for $2 million today, and that home is listed at 1.8, is it worth 1.8? The answer is no. If it's similar conditions, similar location, similar size, it's going to be around $2 million. Now, if they list it for 2.2, is it worth 2.1? The answer is no. It's still worth $2 million. I've gone through at least 5 conversations in the last 2 weeks. They bought a home a few years ago, and they're looking to do this trade up. They work with a discount agent, they work with a friend, they work with somebody. And it was very obvious because I can easily look up their track record, and so can you. And they overpaid. They overpaid by a lot. What's the risk of overpaying? Now, at the end of the day, if you're holding it for 5-10 years, you're probably going to be fine, right? Because over time, it's going to matter a whole lot less. But if you own it for the last couple of years, it matters a lot. Because if you overpay by 10% for like a townhome, you may have overpaid for 3 years of appreciation. Do you understand what that means? Right? You are paying so far out in the future that this may prohibit your goals of moving on to the next place, or you may have to suffer for a loss. Now, I'm not saying that I can predict markets, but I'm also saying that in any given market, there is the best that you can do to feel empowered to make the best decision. And the question is, are you feeling empowered by that, right? And that is super critical of this whole process of understanding what is going on. Everything will sell in the range. I have no guarantee that the market will go up or down the next month or the next 6 months, but you can still do the best you can in this specific market as to whenever you're watching, right? The key is, are you doing that? And for so many people, they're not doing that, right? They're not going through it. They're just using a friend just because a friend's in the business. They're getting completely screwed. They are literally leaving hundreds of thousands of dollars on the table for maybe an agent that gives them a credit, or maybe just a friend that just want to help me, a random person that just met at an open house. They got tricked, right? So it's super important to do a little bit of research. I'm not saying you should interview 10 agents. It'll be a complete waste of time. Like, you want to figure out what is the right person, and hopefully it's myself from giving you this truth from someone that has this kind of experience and allowing me to help you with that data-driven approach, but also this candid attitude, which I've been doing it for every single one of my videos ever since I've started this many, many years ago, right? So that's super important to figure out the right partner, because that partner, like me, will save you months of time as you go through the journey. Right? And so this is a very candid one that I want to give to a lot of people, because I've literally done a market analysis for these people, and they are heartbroken. They knew they overpaid before. They just didn't know they overpaid by this amount. And I told them, like, even if I was in their shoes back in the day and I reviewed some of those numbers, it was very clear. It had no business being at those numbers. And it wasn't just a market that was hot. It could be a flat market. It was just the wrong guidance. And that happens, right? Like, not all opinions are equal. You guys are tuning in for this because you're trying to get some insights. You're trying to get an edge. But my opinion is not the same as someone that's just doing this for 2-3 times a year. Mine is because I do this every single week, as in I help a client buy and sell a home every single week for the last few years in a row. And so we get to see these numbers in great detail. I'm also going to show you via screen share the buyer agreement, so that you don't also have to be so scared. Like, just because you sign a buyer agreement doesn't mean that you are forced to do anything, right? You're not forced to do anything. If you don't buy, you don't buy, right? I've dealt with some clients that we've been working for years. I don't pressure them. That's your own choice. You got specific expectations. My goal is to keep that as broad as possible, as realistic as possible, and then we execute a game plan. That is the logic and opportunity when it comes to this. And so I want to share with you the buyer agreement so that you don't have to be so scared when you sign this. Right? And I'm going to go through it with you section by section so that you now know where you're getting yourself into, and hopefully this encourages you to work with me. Let's review this together. So my brokerage at EXP made this very simple. It's just a 2-page document, right? And let's break it down together line by line. So this agreement is designed to allow a buyer to engage a qualified licensed professional for the purpose of viewing property and receiving contract negotiation and advocacy services throughout the entire real estate offer and purchase process for the types of property described below. Seems pretty straightforward, right? Properties, it'll be a combination of two. What kind of property is it? Some people are buying homes, some people are buying commercial. And it's also about areas. Is it about a specific home? Is it about a specific area, like a city, Could it be by the county? Could it be all of the Bay Area? So on and so forth. Length of agreement. This is the idea that will end at a specific amount of time. The max length is 3 months. If you're signing for anything more than 3 months, you need to run the hell away because that is not even an option to consider. Agency disclosure. This is really important. The agency relationship between buyer and broker determines how broker will work on buyer's behalf. Broker's agency relationship with buyer is disclosed and documented in a separate disclosure form, right? So it allows the real estate professional to work with the buyer and provide fiduciary services. You can see there's also a commitment side, right? Broker will exercise good faith efforts to locate and present suitable properties, allow the touring and the detailed analysis of specific properties, help buyer prepare, negotiate, secure a contract, cooperate with any other real estate licensee working with the seller to facilitate this, and perform other services. The idea of this is, as you can see, for best experience, the buyer is encouraged to be accompanied by broker on buyer's first visit to the property, conduct all negotiations for the property in good faith, and exclusively through the broker. Buyer understands that signing more than one buyer broker agreement for any overlapping period could expose buyer to liability for paying additional fees. The reason is for this is because you don't want to be in a situation where you have two agreements signed. Because if you are purchasing something and there's an overlap, that's really, really bad, right? So one, you get mixed messages. You don't want to have two different opinions, right? Because this is not you're not like going through surgery where you want another opinion before you do something. This is like, who's your guidance? And at the end of the day, then you work with that person to like facilitate the whole thing. And each person is different based off of their experience, right? And so the idea is for the best experience, yes, generally people are working exclusively. Now, certainly, there are people that can do non-exclusives, right? So depending on your own situation, maybe you're looking at a home for the first time, sign a 1 week non-exclusive. And then you should be able to commit, like, do you still want to work with this person and do you want them to spend the time to help you, right? Because it works both ends. The last thing I would want personally is like, look, I spent months of time and then you just use all my wisdom and all my guidance and everything that I shared, and the other person just straight up writing the contract. That's not ethical, and that's just really shady, right? And so that's a big part of it. Broker fee. So whatever is determined, and we will talk about this separately, you can see it can either be a percent, which most people are doing, or is exactly a dollar amount. You can do whatever you want, right? The key about this is if the buyer enters into an agreement to purchase any property within X amount of days following the expiration or early cancellation of the agreement, then buyer should pay the broker fee to broker upon closing. I usually have something here myself. Why? The last thing I want to do is you cancel it, or it just naturally cancels it, and then you use same thing, all the wisdom that we just shared, and all of a sudden you buy another place. That's unethical, straight up unethical, right? And so, and it's just straight up bad. This is really, really bad to do such a thing. So the idea is, yeah, as long as we're working on the specific run, which we already know that after days after even this expires, that those are still protected. I always don't care. Look, if you move on to something else and you happen to work with another person, that's your own choice. In my opinion, that's your own loss, but you do whatever you want. Now, while there's a fee here, the question now I get is who pays for this? Look at this. There's a giant section here. Collecting broker fee from the seller. You have one option, credit to buyer at closing. Buyers may choose to negotiate that the broker fee be paid in whole or in part by the seller through a seller credit to buyer at closing. At buyer's instruction, broker will write this request into buyer's offer to purchase a property and direct seller to broker compensation. Buyer authorizes broker to request that the broker fee be paid in full by the seller. So this is basically saying like kind of how it was before. The seller is covering for the entire amount. Okay. So that's just a heads up. And that's why still all my buyers that are making offers, unless they want to, they are having the seller absorb the entire amount. So you can see any amounts paid by the seller towards the broker fee shall reduce the amount of broker fee to be paid by the buyer. So we're not like double dipping. And literally in the purchase contract, it will show it. Here's a section you may have additional terms. Buyer acknowledges that buyer broker may represent multiple buyers interested in purchasing the same property. You just never know. So you always want to have a quick chat with that. Based on my own experience, I've never had people where they're ready to go, ready to make offers, and they were able to do this. But take a look at this. Either party may cancel this agreement effective upon deliver written notice to the other party. This is what I'm saying. Like, even though it's a three-month agreement, if it doesn't work out for you, it doesn't work out for me, you can cancel this anytime. You're not really that locked. This just establishes some sort of agreement in place of how compensation works, how the fiduciary responsibilities are, the showing of properties. But make no mistake, it literally says it there. You can cancel this agreement anytime, right? So don't be too alarmed by this. This is not like we're getting married and there's no prenup. That's a different question. and you got to deal with that yourself. But for this one, it's just simply establishes a relationship. This is how we operate on things. Now let's go get it. Let's go get you that home, right? So I wanted to break this down for you so you can clearly see how it's written out. Very basic 2-pager. And the whole purpose of this is I don't want to have anything like so secretive in it. It's very self-explanatory here. So if you found this video helpful, share it with your friends. Let's work together. If you don't already have a buyer agreement, if you have a buyer agreement signed in place, reach out to me when it expires or reach out to me before you sign anything. And let's schedule a game plan, right? There's no cost, no obligation. You get the truth and the best options, and then I will ask for us to be able to work together because I don't do this for fun. I do this to help people gain an edge, and it feels good to help my clients gain an edge by winning deals faster, but also ensuring that they'll be buying it for as least as possible with our data-driven approach. Contact me at 408-547-4590, and we'll jump on a Zoom strategy call the same day if you like, and then we'll get you underway. Thanks for watching. See you next time.